proceed?
I haven't heard. Let's proceed.
Okay. You want me to take the lead today? I think you did last time.
Um, yes, thank you very much.
All right, so I'll go ahead and call this meeting of the School Building HVAC Project Committee for Polson and Hand to order. The time is 8:03. The first order of business, do I have a motion to approve the prior minutes from the November 5th, 2024 meeting?
So moved.
I'll second that. Do you have any comments or adjustments or edits?
No, looks good.
They look good to me too. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right. The minutes are approved. Thank you. On to our new business. Our first item is to review and approve the 2025 meeting schedule. So that was shared in the attachments.
Um, Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Any questions about it, Galen? Do you have any, read a chance
No,
to?
looks good.
So continuing with the first Tuesday of the month at 8 a.m. on Zoom. That looks good to me. Does anyone in the group have any questions or concerns about the meeting schedule? No? All right. So I think we need to then take a motion to approve that, right, Galen?
Yep. So I move we approve.
Okay, and I'll second that. Any discussion?
Yada yada.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the meeting schedule has been approved. Thank you. All right, so on to some actual good information and content. The next item is Polson HVAC electrical, auditorium, and gym improvements. So we have design update and construction manager update. So who wants to take it here?
I'll start with the design. So what we've been working on from the design perspective, construction documents are well underway. We're actually hoping to have a set of construction documents over into Nick and his team's hands within the next few weeks to start working on just a final estimate before we do advanced procurement and then eventually bidding the project, which will be the following year. But we want to get a final estimate in place. But a couple of design elements we've been working on the past couple weeks, and Jesse and his team are the gym HVAC. We've been looking at a couple of different setups. We talked about that a little bit last time, some of the different options we were looking at. We are now at a place where we're going to be doing either 2 or 4 units in the gym. We were hoping to fit the part of the unit actually inside the gym, so nothing would be on the exterior except for the condenser for the air conditioners. Mechanical engineers have found out that they won't fit. So the units themselves are going to be kind of like a rooftop unit outside that's going to have ductwork going into the space. But one of the nice things is we're going to be able to reuse the hot water coils that are servicing the units now, or the hot water feeds, I should say. The coils will be new. But the existing units up there have hot water from our boiler plant that go up to them, and that's what heats the space. So we'll have ductwork coming from the outside that will bring air into the space. It'll be cooled air in the summer, and then in the winter, it'll just be mixed air, and then it'll get reheated in a coil that'll actually be in the space. So we could reuse some of that existing infrastructure, a lot more efficient to use our existing boiler plant than to put in gas furnaces for that. They're originally going to do 4. The problem we had with the 4 is 2 of them you would be able to see from the parking lot, and then you'd have exterior ductwork running into the building, which aesthetically really doesn't work. So we worked through in our last design meeting, moving to 2 units that would be on the opposite side of the gym on the lower roof, and 2 larger units that would then go up, feed the gym, and then kind of trunk across the gym. So that's what they're trying to work through now. Another benefit of that is we only have to touch the roof in one section. So we only have to add steel, we only have to rip the roof off in one area versus doing that on both sides of the gym. Just again, we're trying to limit the invasive nature of this project. So working through that. The other one on the electrical side, we're working through the main electric gear and how we're going to refeed the rest of the building. So with this project, we're going to have a new utility transformer that's going to come into a new switch gear room that's off the cafeteria, where we'll build in all the new main panels, the main feed for the building. And then what we're going to do is backfeed the existing electrical gear, which is down in the basement near the boiler room, and that'll keep all of our circuits in the building in place. So what that avoids doing is like a multi-month shutdown to replace all that gear that's in the basement. They're trying to work through now how to change out the main that's in that switchgear. Right now, the main that comes in from the utility into that distribution panel, there's what's called a pressure switch that needs to be replaced as part of this project. It's actually not functioning now, which isn't a good thing. So kind of the way to simplify that is utility feed comes in, goes into a new big main distribution cabinet. All the new loads for any of our new equipment will come right out of that new gear. And then there'll basically be one big breaker, so to speak, that'll go and backfeed the existing electrical components in the building. So again, that avoids a really long-term shutdown, avoids disruption. And if we have any failures of that equipment down the road, those could be replaced kind of on a unitary basis. Very common practice for school construction projects. Those are kind of the two design elements we worked on. Another thing we did was we met with the principal and a couple members of her team to walk through the auditorium. Apparently back in, I think it was February or March, they had made some color selections, product selections, things like that. But that was really when the project was still kind of up in the air, whether we were going to actually be able to do those elements. So it was kind of fun to re-engage that team and get them excited about this again. They had a lot of questions about the AV side of things. So we set a meeting, I think it's actually it might even be later this week. We're going to meet with the AV consultant and walk some of the instructional staff over there through exactly what's proposed to be installed for the auditorium equipment. So again, it was kind of reconfirming a lot of the product selections and color palettes and things like that. We talked about the stage and how we're going to treat that. So that was a good meeting with those folks to kind of bring them back into the fold. So that's what's been happening from the design side. And then Nick and his team are basically gearing up to start putting some numbers to all this. So, Nick, you want to take that from there?
Yeah, that's about the extent of it. We're looking to get drawings at the end of the year, beginning of 26. I'm sorry, 25, and then we'll start our estimating process. It's about 3 weeks to do that, and then circle back with Ben and the design team to make sure that we've covered everything, not covered things we shouldn't have. In a renovation project like this, there's an opportunity for that to happen more so than on a new construction project, right? So there'll probably be 2 to 3 weeks to estimate it, and then probably a week plus to iron it out and make sure that we've included what we should have in the estimate, so you guys have a good number to run with, not only for this job, but with the balance of funds that you have after this one's complete. So, with that said, I think with the drawings coming on the 1st, I would prefer to issue our revised proposal once we get those documents, just to make sure. There's a couple different scenarios that sort of push the duration out maybe a couple of months here or there. And the bulk of our cost isn't our fee, which is just a small percentage on the cost of the work. It's the cost of our project manager, myself, our superintendent, our project engineers that, are on the job or involved in the job on a monthly basis. So if it's a 14-month job versus an 18-month job, it's a big difference in number. And I prefer not to overshoot it and charge more than we need to, but and also not undershoot it and then, come back to you and say, hey, we need 4 more months for general conditions. So I'd like to avoid that. So if you guys are okay with that approach, we'll have a revised proposal to you first or second week of January while we're estimating the job, and we can put a schedule to it as well, which will be helpful. So that's where we're at now. Our purchasing team is also aware that, probably going to be doing some pre-buys of the major equipment, between potentially rooftop units and definitely the switchgear. Once we get the documents in early January and the specifications, we'll have make and models for all the HVAC equipment. And at that point, we can really confirm the lead times for those equipment. Right now, just based on type and the general nature of them, we can get within a range, but we're in a 12 to 24 week range. That's a pretty considerable range. So once we get the make and model and the actual specs on those units, then we can pin it down to, plus or minus 2 or 3 weeks. So, and that also obviously influences the schedule as well. So that's where we're at. We're kind of in a holding pattern, and like I said, until first week of January.
Just so you're aware that the way Gilbane will work in this project is we're talking about duration. There'll be some work done up front on the procurement angle, but then they're essentially going to pause at that point. So it's not like we're going to be charged general conditions, you know, for a year of no
Right.
activity.
Right.
It'll be some work, stop, and then remobilize or mobilize on site when we actually get into building, and then that'll be
Exactly.
the duration there.
Yep, exactly.
Thank you. Can you just remind us the timeline for construction and work in both the auditorium and the gym? What the goal is for when the majority of that work will be done?
Yep, so the majority is going to be summer of 26. The auditorium, per the principal, their busy season is in the spring. So what we would do is basically start that work as soon as school gets out in summer of 26. But then she's committed to giving us the space, so to speak, until the end of December of 26. So she was fine with work happening while the building's occupied, but she would rather have that work done in the fall than in the spring. And then same thing with the gym. We would just negotiate around whatever from an athletic standpoint. But it seemed like through our conversations, it'd probably be around that same time frame. So I think the bulk of the work is going to hit as soon as school gets out. Though we'll probably mobilize a little bit earlier, especially with the VRF stuff. There's a lot we could do in pre-work where we really won't have any customer impact at all. So I think construction is going to start spring of 26. The heavy work, like the abatement, the things that require the school to be shut down, will happen in the summer and then continue on through the end of 26.
And is the Polson auditorium set up in a way that would work to have construction? Obviously, it would, to have it done during the school day without disruption to the students?
Definitely.
Like separate entrance?
Yeah.
Yep, because we could completely isolate the auditorium basically, so it works out well. Same thing with the gym because it's kind of
Yeah.
on its own. So
Yeah. Okay. Super. Thank you. Galen, any comments?
That was very good. Thank you.
Moving along. So next item on the agenda is the DHHS RTU replacement update.
right, so I'll grab that one as well. So that was really simple. I didn't invite anybody from that project team. We haven't talked about it in a few months. So I didn't want everybody to forget about it. But that project is working in the background. The submittal process is basically complete. The equipment is on order. So it's on schedule. There are no timing delays or anything with that. We're working through an issue with the building department right now. Not an issue, but they want load calculations for the building. Which is kind of a standard building department ask now whenever you're doing HVAC equipment. The engineer is basically writing a letter to the building department saying, hey, the thermal profile of the building has not changed since it was built 20 years ago. So to rerun load calculations on a building of that size is a major endeavor. And the reality is the equipment's ordered and we're not changing it anyway. So hopefully we could work that out with them. But that's all we're waiting for, to actually have the contractor pull the building permit. Everything else is in play there. So we're still ready to go as soon as school is done. We're going to get right on that. And hopefully looking at 4 to 6 weeks, depending on weather, to get that complete. So no other issues there. Everything is on order and in motion. Contractor's been great to work with so far. We'll probably do another pre-construction meeting with them in February, March, just to kind of start to solidify work conditions, lay down areas, when they're going to be on site, what they have to do to sign in, all that kind of stuff. We'll start to hit the logistics of it in February or March.
So the work for that over the summer will have an impact on the building and any staff who are in there, but they can still be working in the building for the most part over the summer if need be.
Yeah, so the building is technically closed this summer, but there is no staff could be, if we have the main office staff or anything like that, they could work in there if they want to. The only time while we're doing any sort of crane work, they can't be in there at all. Just from a safety perspective, I'd just rather not have anybody in the building. These are huge units coming up and off the roof and going back in. So the principal's aware of that, and they've been really good to work with, and they'll rearrange their schedules accordingly. That was a reason why we wanted to keep Polson online this summer, because Brown's going to be shut down. Hand is going to be shut down. Our elementary schools are all in flux. So really, we needed one building that nothing was happening in.
Yeah. Lots to manage. That requirement is that a new requirement that you mentioned about the load bearing stuff? Is that new? I mean, because these are replacement units, right?
Yeah, I think, some building departments are sticklers with that requirement where anytime there's a change to the heating systems in the buildings or if they want to see load calcs redone. I actually went through this in my house. I replaced my little boiler with the exact same thing. It was like same model and everything. And our local building department wanted load calculations. I'm like, okay.
Same
Um,
thing. Okay.
with a tiny project like that, the manufacturers just do it. They have software. They put in my 1,500 square foot house and say, this is what you
Right.
need.
Okay.
I've seen it happen before. Nick, you probably run into this as well, but it's really like the building department could enforce it or they could not. I think my guess is when they get that letter from the engineer just stating that, they've reviewed the building as a whole, that it seems to be what it was designed to be back in 2004. There's not an addition on it. We didn't get rid of space. We didn't replace the windows, anything like that. They should be okay with that, but.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Thank you. Any questions for you, Galen?
No.
All right. So then our last item is number 6, approval of invoices. So I'll just read them through. We can do one motion to approve them. The first is for BL Companies, invoice number 2302234-7 for $44,400 for professional services from September 28th, 2024 to October 25th, 2024. And then the second invoice is to Silver Petroselli, invoice number 24-1365, $600 for DHHS RTU replacement and professional services through October 31st, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I'll second that. Any comment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the invoices are approved. Thank you. The next item is public comment. Do we have any? It doesn't look like we have any attendees joining
No,
us.
we do not.
All right, thank you. Anything else that we would like to talk about before we adjourn? All right, so it looks like our next meeting is January 7th, 2025. All right, we'll see nothing else. I'll move to adjourn at 8:21 a.m.
Excellent.
All right.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Emily.
All right,
Thanks.
see you later.